All right, great. We'll start up with this session. And once again, welcome. And thank you so much to make your time on for this wonderful session on how to prepare for a Tableau interview. Um, this is Nagaraj, and I will be helping you out for this session. Well, I see a couple of familiar faces or familiar names, but many are might be attending my session for the first time. Um, and I hope this session will be interactive. Yes, the main reason why we came up with this session is we are getting questions on Tableau of late very frequently, saying that okay, how to prepare for the Tableau interview, and many people are having different doubts. So we thought let's have a common platform where each one of us can put forth their ideas, their questions, their doubts, which can benefit the larger crowd, right? And it could be a common platform to answer most of the common questions which I felt were being asked by many of them. All right, so the agenda for today's session would be we would be walking through couple of the basic questions which I felt were very basic, or if in my course of action where I have seen people miss on answering this kind of questions which were pretty basic. Those questions I have highlighted from my end. Apart from that, what I would like to do is, which would be the first half, the other half, I have planned to keep it as a question and answer where each one of you can put forth your questions, your doubts, or anything related to Tableau. Just in case if you are done with your session and you're looking for the preparation, or if you are done with your preparation and you're looking for your interviews, and might be a couple of them have attended an interview or a couple of them are waiting for their first interview. So what's the means cycle and all the things. If you have any questions, we will take that question and answers in the second half, right? So that's the agenda briefly about today's session. And yeah, so before I start, so hope any other questions, expectations you people have. If you want, you can just share it in the chat window, and I will try to cover them as a part of my discussion. Or what's your expectation out of this session? You can put it in the chat window, right? And I will try to cover that thing wherever I can in the best manner. All right. With that note, keep posting your questions in the chat window, and I will start the session. This so the very first thing that we say is the first thing first. Unfortunately, people are looking, or I felt this was an important or vital step, which couple of people are missing on it. So I personally recommend to people that let it be a Tableau interview or let it be any other interview. These are the 4 steps that you have to do at a mandate basis, right? If you are trying to attend any interview, try to keep your resume as updated as possible. And the best part would be if you can keep multiple resumes with you at your disposal would be the best thing. For example, if I'm trying to apply for an organization which deals with more on, or if I have a job interview which is more on a HR per se, I would like to keep my projects relevant to that job. If I'm trying to apply for a job which is related to a healthcare, then applying with the HR projects may not make much of sense there, isn't it? So in those kind of situations, it's strongly recommended of means even if you go throughout the Naukri portals and all the things, there also people say, or the experts say, that if you have multiple resumes, nothing should be exaggerated or faked, but keeping the relevant things for the relevant job makes it more means it increases the chances of being picked up. All right. So keep your resume relevant to what the job description is. And the second point, I was assuming I'll put it first, but I purposefully kept it second. It's like you have to understand your job description, guys. Many a times people do ask me this question, so what kind of questions can I expect? So the job description is the key for that. If I'm applying for, again, the same example, if I'm applying for a healthcare and they have mentioned in the job description that they're looking for a person who has 3 to 5 years of experience and has, let's say, a knowledge on SQL and has a knowledge on BI tools and also has a knowledge on team management, and we are working in agile project. Let's say this was a job description. So I can make it out saying that, okay, fine, they're looking for a person who has that experience. He also needs a SQL guy, and he also needs a project management person who has who has worked in an agile process. So based on that couple of key points, I would like to make out, okay, if the project says agile, let me go and work out on what the agile process is, because most of the situations they will ask you questions many a times on the key points which are mentioned in the job description. Let's say in the job description it was mentioned that they do not work on SQL, they work on Access database. So it makes sense to make yourself equipped with what is Access database, how to get on with it, right? Those are the additional questions which should be asked along with the Tableau questions in mind. Anyways, we are doing preparation. The Tableau's preparation is mandate, which no one is going to skip, right? But apart from that, having the preparation done for those rest of things will also play a major or a vital role, right? Know about the organization. This has many times happened in my previous organization where I used to conduct interviews. I know in technical round you're not supposed to ask about the organization, but down the line, means when I'm trying to understand the job description, I used to just plug in some question about my organization. Do you know anything about, to just to make sure that, okay, this guy knows something about my process, which will make my job easier on the flow to make him equipped, which I barely found, means not happening, but most of the people used to do it, but there were a couple of people who used to skip on that. Like if I'm going for that organization and I don't know anything about it, it's quite embarrassing, right? And I think the mock interviews are the most helpful tools, as they help you to overcome that consciousness, that means that feeling of you are unaware. What happens is, if you do the practice again and again on that question, down the line, if you attend an interview and the same question is being asked by that interviewer, you know how to do your pitching, you know how to say that question, you know how, you may have done a theoretical research on that question, but if you have never said that question in front of someone else, maybe you may go wrong technically or grammatically, or maybe you may sound nervous, and many more things may happen. So mock interviews help you to overcome all these problems, is what my take is. But yes, again, people, it depends on totally on your confidence. If you feel that, yes, I'm pretty confident that I don't need my mock interviews, that's absolutely fine. You can still go with it as well. All right, this was a common for any job interview, for that say, nothing related to Tableau, uh, but yes, these are kind of hygiene kind of steps which if you do will make your means landing into an interview or getting your resume picked up and you clearing the rounds a little bit, the probability increases, right? So what are the common interview process that happens? Many interviews, like you may have some pre-interview rounds, some post-interview rounds, which are non-technical, the HR round and all the things, or your introduction and all the things. For freshers, mostly you'll have a jam session, just a minute session, and you may have the GADs and all the things, but I assume most of the people here are freshers, so they may not have to interview, undergo that things. So the key focus that I had was from purely on a technical front. Most of the organizations, they follow these 2 steps. First, they'll have a verbal technical round where they will on a call they will ask you about the various techniques and technology, like questions which we will be discussing in the next couple of slides. And after that, in India especially, they do ask you to walk down to the office so that you can have uh, they'll ask you to prepare a POC kind of thing. POC is proof of concept, or they'll give you on the fly, they'll give you some amount of data, some random data, or might be the Tableau's inbuilt data, which is sample superstore. They'll give you a couple of case studies or questions and say, okay, prepare on this. All right. And so that's that. And they'll give you some amount of time, let's say 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or half an hour based on your case study. Couple of organizations, they also attempt for a written this thing where they will ask you a couple of questions. They'll give you a piece of paper and ask you the questions like, okay, what is Tableau? Give a definition of it. What is a BI tool? Give a definition of it. That do happens in a very lesser percentage of organization, but that do happen as well. But most of the technical people don't have so much of patience. They directly ask a verbal or POC. These are the most common things, right? And what kind of questions are being asked, that depends majorly on the way you have created your resume. If you have given your resume saying, let's say I have 8 years of experience, so people will not ask you basic question like what is Tableau, right? And that's a totally irrelevant question, and that makes that's a sin, if I have to say, like, because with 8 years of experience, people will expect you have expertise in that tool. So they will ask you the questions in that fashion. They will ask you the critical questions like what was the project that you have handled, how many people you have worked with, or what kind of questions or what kind of challenges that you have faced. But if your resume has like some decent experience, let's say 2 years or 3 years, then they will ask you the most decent questions, like starting with what is Tableau, and then they'll try to understand how depth you have in the Tableau's knowledge, right? So they'll start with the basic questions. Maybe they what certification on Tableau? I'm sorry, Anil, I didn't get that question. Maybe if you can rephrase it, it would be a little bit more helpful, right? So yeah, so that kind of questions may arise. What is your experience? That matters a lot. All right. So basic kind of questions which most of the common are asked for Tableau's interview is what is Tableau and all. But before this, like means the best part of Tableau or learning Tableau is that I'm sorry. Yes, there are certifications for Tableau. Give me a couple of seconds. I'll elaborate on that. The best part of Tableau is, means technically there are very little, or like, there are very handful of concepts where a question can be targeted to you. That's why the questions will come in a mixed fashion, where people will ask you a couple of more questions on the assisted technologies as well. Like suppose if you have mentioned in your data in your resume that you have worked on SQL database, or you have worked on Access database, or you have supported only with the Excel files, so they may ask you a couple of questions based on that also, apart from what is there in this. All right. And to primarily focus on what are the Tableau questions, the first and primary question is what is Tableau. Many of the people feel to, like, you may know you have been working on Tableau, but you never get a thought of, means what is Tableau? How should I give a proper definition for this, right? So it can be a very simple definition. You don't have to get into the complexities. You can just say that okay, it's a BI tool which can be placed on top of any data source or multiple data sources to pull the data and create some visually interactive dashboards, which can thus serve the management to make more strategic decisions, right? Those kind of answers you can place. You have many more options. You can search for appropriate thing which makes you feel comfortable. That's the best answer you should choose always. And this, again, the most common question would be asked is, what is the difference between Tableau and Click? Or for that per se, people may ask you, what's the difference between Tableau and any other BI tool? The moment you say in your definition that Tableau is a BI tool, they'll say, okay, why Tableau? Why? What's the speciality of Tableau? You can say that Tableau is one of the, if you look at the market, it's one of the most happening tool and has and has means the features which a non-IT person can also adapt to. It's very user friendly, very easy to develop. You don't need any technical background as such to become an expert in Tableau. At the same time, the flexibility around your data or creating a dashboard or digging down to the dashboard is very much in depth in Tableau when compared to Click. When you are working on Click, I would take a standard example of Click. So when we are working on a Click or Click Sense or Click View, it so happens that at the database level, when you are designing your database, you have to make sure that how your data is. You will have to use means you have to do your data planning very well, because you, in Click, that's a positive point. You have a ETL process as well, which is not there in Tableau. So there itself you have to do the planning of your data, and down the line if you want to do any changes, it's a tough process. When compared to Tableau is a pretty smooth. It goes, means you can do the data manipulation at a later point of time also. Even your creation of dashboard or preparation method is pretty simple in Tableau. So you can pick up any of the points you choose to, and you can just hit it saying that Tableau is easy to understand, easy to make, it's user friendly, it has a great user community where you can post any of your questions and get answers within no span of time, and it's very easy to learn and easy to implement as well, right? Very common question again is, what are the different products of Tableau? So if you go to Tableau's official website, which is tableau.com, you may see there the official webs on the tools that Tableau cater is Tableau Desktop, Tableau Public, Tableau Online, um, Tableau Server, and Tableau Reader. These are the 5 products which Tableau cater exclusively, out of which Tableau's Reader and Tableau Public are free of cost. Reader is just a reader where you can open a file and you view it on an offline basis. Tableau Server, or let me use the Tableau Public first. Tableau Public is a free tool which can be used by any person with certain amount of limitations for the practice and for public freelancing purpose. All right. Tableau Desktop and Tableau Online are most commonly used by the developers to create and develop the worksheets and dashboards, out of which more commonly used is a Tableau Desktop. All right. Then they may ask you, what is the role of a Tableau Server? So Tableau Server hosts the files that a developer has created. It acts as a common platform where the end users can come and look at the files using any commonly used web browser or even a mobile application, which is Tableau app. Again, the web browsers are commonly used. All right. So another question, what's the difference between desktop and reader? Okay, I have already covered it, saying that desktop is where a developer can develop a file or a dashboard. On the other hand, a reader is a user interface for user end, where he can just open the developed file, right? The limitation for reader is you can only open the files which are of TWBX extension, and you cannot open a .twb file. If you do not know what are the difference between these two, hold on to the horses. I'll explain you what's the difference. All right. They may ask you, as pointed out earlier, what's the difference between the desktop and server. Okay. I'm getting a couple of questions here in the chat window, Sandeep and Anil. I'll answer your questions shortly, right? So yeah, the question which I was talking about, what are the different extensions in Tableau? So people who have attended my session may have got a little bit elaborated view on .twb and TWBX and TDE. For now, initially let me explain you what does a TWB and TWBX means. All right, TWB and TWBX are the uh, Tableau files which are used in your day-to-day life. The moment you save any of your work, you have to save either your file in TWB or TWBX. All right, TWB stands for Tableau Workbook and BX stands for Tableau Packaged Workbook. All right, your TWB is made up of a XML file. It's a simple XML file which is placed on top of your data. Let's say this is my data, and this is the Tableau workbook that I have created. All right, so any charts and bars that I may create will be stored in a form of a XML language behind the scenes. If you want to open or if you want to see this XML code, you can just go to a package workbook and do a right click and say open with and a notepad, and you can see this XML logic as well, right? So the amount of data this XML file stores is absolute zero. It doesn't store any of the data. It just stores the metadata along with in the XML, right? So you cannot share this TWB files without the data sources. Or if you're working on a live connection, you can use these XML files so that you do not have to share the gigabytes of data. But on the other hand, let's say if you want to pull this data into Tableau's environment, right? If you want to extract this data into Tableau's environment, we call it as a, we create an extract, right? We pull that data from source to Tableau's environment and we name it as Tableau Data Extract, which is .tde, your third extension. All right, your TWB, which was the earlier file, your XML plus TDE combinedly forms a TWBX, right? So this is the logical reasoning behind the scene. What is your TWB? Your TWB is your XML file. Your TDE is a Tableau Data Extract, EXTRACT. They have just gulped up the E because it was already present in TDE. So just to make it a little bit more differentiating, they have used the second letter to make it saying it as TWBX, right? So X stands for extract as well. E is a silent there. So TWB, TWBX, and TDE. These are the most common files extensions. If you know these three, that's more than enough. Rest of the things are complementary things which people use it, but not on a familiar basis. TPS is a preference file. This is we do not use any executable files, Gopal. And these are like, you know, means if this is just a report, right? You just open it and you work on it. There's no execution as such, if I understand it correctly, if I understand your question correctly. But yes, you can open them and you can play around with that TWBX. TPS is your preference files, which are like, you know, if you want to create any new color codes. Let's say your organization follows a certain branding, or the new organization follows a certain branding. You can create a TPS file for it, and you can just put it so that you do not have to use that new color codings. You don't have to use it every time. I'm sorry, you do not have to create it every time. All right. TMS is Tableau Maps Sources, which Tableau inbuilt has a certain maps with it, but if you want a certain more maps for that, you can go for it. .tdpm is Tableau Bookmarks, which was a version or was a helpful tool when Tableau 8 or 9 was there in the process when I initially started my career. Back then we didn't had means if let's say I have a workbook and I am working on a new workbook where I want only one sheet out of it to replicate here. Either I can recreate it or I can just take this file and put it here. So earlier this version, this option was not available in Tableau 8 or before tools. So in those situations, we used to use .tbm, but now you have just a right-click copy and right-click paste, and it does the job for you. Right? So that's why you can ignore the TBM, but it's good to know thing. TBM stands for Tableau Bookmark, right? And okay, let me take a pause here. Any questions, guys, so far? Apart from what Anil and Sandeep has mentioned. Okay. No, I'm so sorry, Sanjeevni. I was asking, yes, we will take these questions, and the reason why I am parking the questions of Anil and Sandeep is, means so that we can discuss on this piece once I'm done with this small slide thing, right? So kindly wait for this again. I would be helping you on that. But whatever the topics that we are discussing, like what is Tableau or difference between Click and what are the different extensions on that. If you have any questions, you guys can post it. Click is free, but the thing or the condition that goes is, Click comes with a very unique style. It says you have a lifetime free version of the dashboard or the I'm so sorry, of the tool on your machine, but the file that you create, you cannot share it with someone else. I think behind the scene it just embeds the Tableau I'm sorry, Click key with it, which makes it non-workable if you try to open it on some another machine. So you need a licensed version if you want to open someone else's files, or if you want to share your files with someone else. And that's how it works. Otherwise, it's free for your practice purpose. Okay. Again, if that user has a Click, no, he may not, and that's what. So the moment I try to open, he gets a prompt saying that this was created on or this is created by another user, so you may not use it if you do not have a license. That's a prompt you get. You can give a try. You can download a free Click on your version on your machine, and you go to the Tableau Click community. You'll find so many Click files there. Just try to download one of them and try to open. It will throw you an error saying that this file was created by someone else, so you cannot open it. That's the problem. That's not there in the Tableau Reader. Tableau Reader is free and anyone can open it, anyone can operate it, given that it's a TWBX. But in Click, again, the benefit is this the only difference between the Click? No, there are a couple of more differences. Click has ETL within it. Tableau do not have ETL. Click is a little bit more complicated, complex. It's more on a manual process kind of thing, while Tableau is more intuitive, easy to understand and easy to create. The navigation is pretty simple, and I think there are many features which differ between Click and Tableau. Click was pretty old. Surprisingly, if people are not aware, Click is much more older than what Tableau is. Still, so that's why it comes with that traditional all-in-one purpose kind of thing. So that has a little bit more limitations and a couple of more benefits when compared to Tableau. Okay, welcome. So yeah, um, what is a dashboard in Tableau? People do ask this question very commonly. So what is a dashboard? A dashboard is collection of worksheets which are placed in a relative or a logical manner, right? You create, so people who have attended my session may relate to this answer once again. So I keep sharing this analogy, like, um, so if we go to a marriage or a birthday function in India, you may click couple of photos, right? When you click couple of photos, you have all the people in them, and you come back home and you try to combine them and create a collage, right? In the collage, what are the primary things that you do? You pick up those photos, you put them, you decorate them, you write the names, you give the headers saying that, oh, A weds B and happy married life or something, blah blah blah, and you'll have some captions or something, titles, and you'll have all those photos placed with properly decoration, right? So that's a collage. Similarly, in Tableau, you'll create charts. In charts, you'll have, so instead of people, you'll have a bar chart or a pie chart or any other chart, right? You'll do the basic formatting there, and the final touch will be given on a dashboard where you put those sheets in a relative manner. Let's say first in your collage, you may have like all the friends together, all the family members together, or those kind of things. So similarly in dashboard also, you may put all the relative measures together, and you put them a proper headers and titles, and you name them, and you give the appropriate filters and all the things, and you decorate them. So that's a dashboard. So dashboard is a collection of worksheets which are placed together in a logical or a relative manner, right? So if you want to do any addition or subtraction in your dashboard, you have to do at a sheet level and not at a dashboard level, all right? And apart from, so in dashboard you put the sheets, and what else you put? You put the filters, right? So what are the different types of filters, people may ask you. So there are various filters. Couple of them which I have highlighted here are extract filter, data source filter, quick filter, action filter. All right. So what again people may come up with a question, what is an extract filter, and what is a difference between extract and a data source filter, right? That's a major or most commonly asked question. What's the difference between these two? So the answer goes like this. The extract filter works on a extract level where the data is being imported is restricted, right? If I have to add a little bit of more logical sense, sorry for my diagram or my drawings. So this, let's say this is my data source, and this is my Tableau environment. Not so crooked, but it should be, yeah, it's my Tableau environment. So if the data is passing here, and if I put a filter, let's say I write a custom SQL and I put a filter, so that becomes my extract filter. So that, let's say if I have 100 records here and I want to pull only 60 records, and I put some filter, so if I put an extract filter, only 60 records will flow. However, if I'm putting a data source filter, in those situations, all the 100 records will flow to Tableau's environment, but on my visualization, I will see only 60. So obviously when asked about the performance, which will be the better one, obviously the extract filters will work in a better fashion, right? because it reduces the number of records, and lesser the records, better the performance. That's the simple logic, right? A data source filter just keeps all the record in the Tableau environment, but does not allow it to come upfront, right? So that's the difference between your data source and extract filter. Again, the very common question asked is, what is the difference between a quick filter and action filters? So quick filters are, let's say this is my dashboard. I would like to give you again a small visual aid, and these are my sheets, right, which has a couple of bars in it, right? And my favorite, the donut chart, and let's say some another chart here, right? The line chart. So what are the quick filters? The quick filters are these filters which a user can select a drop down and select the values and filter the data. But what are your action filters? Action filters are like, let's say this is a region filter. I have north, south, east and west, and if I click on the bar of north, rest all of the sheets, if they get filtered automatically, that is called as the action filter, right? I'm sorry, you're performing an action to click on a certain tool or a certain bar, and rest of the dashboard is getting filtered. So that is your action filters. And if you are using a drop down, it's called as a quick filter. All right. How does a okay, one second. Anil had a question. When we publish the dashboard on the server, is there a way that I can limit the users to not view the confidential data for the same dashboard? Yes, absolutely, Anil. You have two levels of filters. I'm sorry, two levels of permissions. Who can see the data and what a user can see, if I have to put it properly. All right, so permissions is something we call, permissions is how who can see the data, and there is something called as a user filter, user permissions, where you can set which of the chart a user can see or which of the data. Let's say I have a data, I have different data sources like marketing, sales, production, all right, and logistics. And if I want to give a certain person only the logistic access and another set of people only the marketing data, we can absolutely do it in Tableau, right? That is called as user sets. And how data source is qualified as filter? Data source filter, it's I'm sorry, I missed on that word here. It should not be the data source, it is data source filters. I'm sorry, I missed on that word. So data source filters will is a filter, all right, which if you put a filter behind the scene which restricts the data, or if you convert a filter, if you do a right click and say apply this filter throughout the data source, that's when it becomes a data source filter. My bad for that word. All right, any more questions, guys? Okay. And then we have something called as parameters. So parameters are nothing but, means a dynamic way to add some ad hoc values or a placeholder where you can select any value and that will do the actions. Similar to your filters, but this can accept the values which are not present in your database as well. Let's say I want to select a value, or if I want to do something called a sheet swapping or those kind of things, parameter can be used. So what's the difference between a filter and parameter? Filter takes the values only which are present in database, but parameter can take the dynamic or the ad hoc values as well, right? And it can act as a placeholder for your data input in couple of calculations or a couple of scenarios. Okay, the last question would be how to optimize your dashboards. And this is a very common question being asked in throughout the interviews, very commonly asked. The primary examples you can tell is use extract filter, or even the number of filters affect the performance, guys. When you do a performance recording, you can see higher the number of filters, slower the dashboard works. So you should keep the filters less. The third thing is you should not clutter it with any unwanted measures or dimensions into the sheet. Knowing that, okay, I don't need this, and you still put it there in the uh, mark shelf, it actually hampers the performance. And the best way to optimize your data is to uh, you know aggregate it. When you're calling your data into Tableau's environment, you have a choice to write conditions in your database level itself, where you can write a custom SQL. That is what we call in Tableau. So if you want to write any custom SQLs which can aggregate the data, let's say I do not look at my data at a day level, but I look at a month level or a year level, and I want to show the data only at that level. Showing the data at a day level, it doesn't make sense, right? Uh, I assume someone has unmuted themselves. Kindly mute yourself. Okay, I just muted the person. So yeah, so those are the different I think aggregation using an extract filter, reducing the number of filters, reducing the number of marks in your sheet are the key or most commonly applied things. All right, any questions, guys? When we publish data, how if I publish the same dashboard to my manager and associates to the same report, I want to limit my associates not to view the data. Yes, I want to restrict the third sheet to my associates. Yes, absolutely, Anil, you can achieve this using this something called as user sets. Okay, you can check for this, and if you see on the top, you'll have menu. On that, one of the menu will be the server. In the server, if you come down, I guess if I remember it properly, the last option will be user filters. In that, you can do that thing. Okay, different ways to connect data to Tableau. Rajnikant, maybe can you elaborate a little bit more on this question? How to connect? You can so Tableau has a wide variety of connections option. You can connect to any of the data source method. Now I'm using public, so I do not have as a developer they use Tableau desktop or public. For a developer, public is a sin. They only work on Tableau desktop because public is a free version. It comes with certain limitations that the moment you save your data, it goes and sit onto the Tableau's cloud, which is a publicly available. Even in the live connection, you will use only the Tableau desktop. No ways you're using a public in an organization or a commercial environment. You only use commercial public for your practice purpose, or if you are working as a freelancer, or let's say you want to showcase what your talent is to the people on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, you will use Tableau Public. Elsewise, you will not use it. In real-time scenarios or commercial front, public is a sin. As simple as that. Right? How to create your own Tableau web link? Creating a Tableau web link is pretty simple. Open a Tableau Public, create any chart, and just hit on save. Now I haven't created anything here. Maybe if I can just put something, and the moment I save it, I get the option of save to Tableau Public. The moment you do And if I click on this thing, save to Tableau public, I'll be redirected to Tableau's public website and I'll get my own link there. You can just copy and paste it. What is expected from 3 years of Tableau experience in interview? 3 years of experience, formally they will, okay, let me come, Rajnikant, I'll just take the question in series. There was a question asked by Anil long time back. I'm sorry. So is there any certification for Tableau? Tableau does offer 2 levels of certification. Okay, Anil just left. But it's okay, I can explain it for the other people. There are 2 levels of certification, Tableau for beginners and Tableau advanced. Tableau for beginners is something you can write if you're interested to. The cost of that is $250, but you really need to be proficient if you're trying to attempt a Tableau certification, because the way the interview is, or the way they conduct this interview is pretty tough. The questions are, for the beginners, they're pretty challenging, and also you know, they have that live person, someone who will be looking at you and all, so you cannot use your phones or anything in that room. You have to enable your webcam and show that there is no one else in the room, and all the things happen. So they take utmost care to where you cannot, you know, means dupe, or you can take someone else. If they found anyone is helping you, or you have a cell phone or any other source where you can get help, they simply reject and they fail you. All right. So if you're going for a Tableau certification, go well prepared is what I would like to say. And in a nutshell, yes, there are 2 levels of certification: associate and qualify, and the if I remember it correctly, it's associate, and the next level is, I guess it was for experts. I don't remember the name for that. Sandeep asked me the question, hi, I have a total of 8 years experience, and how will I introduce myself in Tableau job or in data science job? Sandeep, with 8 years of experience, you may have to come up with more intuitive answer, where you will have to tell that you have not just worked on a Tableau project, but you have handled, or if you have you know, means led a project with, yeah, same goes for Shivani. I have 5 years of experience in BA, but in that case, okay, I think this question is a little bit different. So yes, Sandeep, for your question, it would be like you may have to tell that you have led a project, this was the project, and what were the major hurdles, and all that kind of questions will come for you. They will not ask you that what is a data source filter or what is a context filter. No, they will not ask you most of the times, but they will ask you like, what were the hurdles, how did you achieve the result, or did you miss on the timelines, how did you cater the timelines, and those kind of questions will be asked for you, right? So you'll have to be prepared more on that front. You may have to tell that you are leading a project and not you are executing a project. Sanjeevani says she has a 5 years of experience in BA, but I'm a fresher for Tableau. In that case, what should I do if company requires expert in Tableau? I think Sanjeevani, for you it should be a cakewalk, because when people are looking for a Tableau developer, they are looking for a person who has the analytics background, and it's a add-on point for you in case if you can put your experience there and say, oh, I have this experience, and I have been working on this, and you can just say that you have like whatever the analytics that you have done, you used to put forth that into the Tableau's environment, and that kind of thing, that should help for you. And for Sandeep, I have expertise in MySQL, PSSQL, but not in Tableau. Well, that should not be a problem, but you can say that, you know, means your primary role initially in your initial days, you used to work on SQL and PLSQL. Slowly down the line, you got your expertise in Tableau, and that's how you started your Tableau journey, and slowly you started creating the dashboards and all. And you can just say that there was no hard transition. It was the transition overlap between my SQL experience and Tableau experience. Earlier I used to work primarily on SQL, but down the line it just got, means I got transitioned myself into a Tableau developer, and that's how we created the Tableaus and all the things, you can say. Because when you're looking for a SQL, Tableau, SQL, or a database knowledge, guys, are again the important people who have only the developing skills and not the data processing skills. And the people who have the data processing plus Tableau skills, the obvious preference will be the second people. Right? If you have that knowledge of data processing, how does a data sit, how can you do the joins and all the things, that's always a benefit. Faisal has a question here saying that, is Tableau experience, desktop experience, a must for beginner certificate? It's not mandate. No one has asked that. There is no documentation said that you should have experience of desktop before you write. But if you have that, it's always a beneficiary thing. The reason, because they will ask you some basic questions on Tableau, like can I have a multiple select in a parameter? Those kind of questions may be asked. So if you have a desktop experience, those questions will be smooth for you. At the same time, you have a time limit when you're writing your exam, and this exam is not a question and answer round, it's a case studies. Like they will give you a couple of questions and couple of case studies where you'll actually have to develop a worksheet or a dashboard for them. All right, so in those kind of situations, if you have that Tableau desktop experience, for you searching for the values or creating a logic will be a smoother thing. Yes, Sanjeevani, yes, it would be the fantastic thing if you can link your work to the Tableau and say whatever the work that you used to do, you have developed the output in Tableau's world or Tableau desktop versions. Trust me, it's the best thing. His experience should have, for experience or having that desktop certification, desktop and public look similar, work similar. And you can go with the public experience as well. Case studies related to Tableau, I really have to search it, Rajnikant. I cannot commit you on this, but let me give a try. If I can find any, I'll surely share with you. Because apart from what we give it in the standard sessions, I don't have any generic case studies with me. I have the case studies which are my organizations and pretty confidential, and I cannot share. So let me search for some publicly available case studies. If I find them useful, I'll ask Irshad to share with you. How can R or Python can relate to Tableau? Awesome question. Via screen share. No, I cannot show those things even via screen share. The data is pretty confidential. How R or Python can relate to Tableau? The best part is like offlet, you're getting the more and more simplified versions of enabling your connections with R and Tableau. Now even the Python has come up in this 10 point version. You are able to connect to Python in a very smoother way as well, and you can do all the integration, and you can so the work it works like this. So you push you create a visualization here, and the moment you apply a filter or something, you have a calculated field. That calculated field will take the data to R or Python's environment. It will execute that data in R for that example, and it will push the result back to that calculated field. That calculated field will be displayed on your sheet. can you show a connection with R? There's some problem in this machine where I cannot do that. But there was a webinar that you can see or refer to, or there's some problem that is coming with my R. Oh, it just popped up. Awesome. Install.packages. Let me see if it works. Oh, it did work. Okay. No, see, this is the problem that I'm getting. In this machine, for some reason it says get dependencies, so I need to reinstall this. It happened with me when I was having my session as well with my students last time. So that's the unfortunate thing. I cannot show you, but there are only two commands that you have to pass here: install.package, then library. Oops. Library rserve. Okay, these are the two commands that you run, and after that you have to do this rserve. Now it's throwing me an error, but you run these three these things in our environment, three commands, and then you can come and here in this you'll have connect to the external external connections. You'll get, you just have to click on it and say enable. All right, I'm using a Tableau public and R is not supporting, that's why I cannot show you. But yes, you can access it in our webinars. If you're facing any challenge, you can please reach out to me. How to get Tableau remote system for practice? Get the Tableau public. Download the Tableau public and use the publicly available data, sample superstore, coffee chain, and so many, and you can practice. I would like to end up the session telling all the best for you guys. I hope you crack the interviews and you find you land yourself in your dream jobs and get the best.